no feeling for the troops underneath him. He had more feeling, I think, for the natives than he did for us as whites.
This was Harrison's strategy of dependence, of cultural immersion. This was his way of winning hearts and minds. The insurgency he orchestrated could never have been successful without it. They would have been betrayed to the Japanese and executed like other covert operators.
Everybody came to Barrio. Barrio Longhouse was full of people, and after that the people from the surrounding villages went back. Those of us strong young men were gathered together and we were taught how to use guns.
But when ammunition ran out, they had an equally lethal weapon of their own.
Trumpet, blowpipe was used along with poison darts.
The Dykes system was to hide off the track, let the party go past, and the last fellow going to get a trumpet, poison arrow in his neck, under here, around the back of the neck, and they used to call it 4-step. He'd be dead in 4 steps. His mate would be still talking away. He'd look round, his mate wasn't there. And then they'd just keep on, they'd get another one, another one, another one.
Beautiful, completely silent weapon.
Then events in the wider world started to catch up with Harrison's private army. The war might officially be over, but the Japanese soldiers in Borneo's interior had no way of knowing that, and they were still threatening the Dayaks. Tom refused to abandon his friends.
Well, you couldn't go away and just leave them. That was simply that. I mean, to go away and leave them would have been a dishonourable act. Somebody had to serve as a buttress to bring them through now, and I tried to do that.
As always, he felt a responsibility towards the local people, and some months later he negotiated the unconditional surrender of 340 Japanese soldiers isolated in this heart of darkness. In terms of Japanese killed and operatives lost, Tom Harrison's Samut team was more successful than all the other Australian covert operations put together, and his exploits were to become the stuff of legend among the inland tribes of Borneo. By the end of the war, Tom Harrisson and mass observation had been all but forgotten in Britain. His fame and his future had now moved to Borneo. Here he took up the post of museum director and government ethnologist, succeeding his old pre-war adversary, Edward Banks. The museum, built during colonial times, became his headquarters, and the rich natural and cultural history of Borneo his subject. It was the perfect job for a polymath like Tom. During the next 20 years, he turned a quaint old museum into a centre of excellence and learning, far and away the best museum in Southeast Asia. The films that he brought to me at the BBC some 50 years ago were to be a showcase for his wide-ranging interests, which by then had pushed beyond the boundaries of conventional anthropology into ethnography, archaeology, and even nature conservation. Of the 6 films that I put together back in 1957, perhaps the most famous was one which went on to win the prestigious Palme d'Or at Cannes. It was called Bird's Nest Soup. Tom Harrisson himself wrote and spoke the narration.
What makes these tiny swiftlets so unique is that they've developed salivary glands just below the chin, and the saliva they secrete from these glands is what they use to make the nest. They are the most expensive food in the world, and the birds that make these nests only nest in limestone caves.
colonies of these birds lived in Borneo's great caves of Nia that extend over 20 acres into limestone hills. It's the biggest cave system in Southeast Asia. Filmmaking in places like this in the 1950s would have deterred most people, but not Tom Harrisson. He ran the operation like a military expedition. They had to sail up the coast from Kuching, then continue upriver, hack their way through jungle, build a walkway, and then shift all their kit, including some huge generators, into the caves. Without the lights powered by these generators, filming in these enormous caves would have been impossible. It was a remarkable film made under the most extraordinary conditions, and it raised the bar in documentary filmmaking. By now, Tom was supported by his German-born second wife, Barbara.
Tom was not interested in the techniques of doing it. His main interest was to provide a commentary, and he was very good at that.
Bujang goes up into total darkness, into something the size of the dome of St. Paul's Cathedral, climbing 200 or 300 feet in an effort which might well stagger any circus acrobat.
One of his field assistants at the time was a young aristocrat of 22, just out from England.
My interview with Tom was one of the most absurd job interviews in the world. He said, yeah, come and see me. I'm getting divorced on Tuesday, getting married again on Thursday. Come and see me on Wednesday. So I went and saw him in his room in the Travellers Club, and we discussed arrangements and how it might work out, and so on.
Age had not blunted Harrison's taste for controversy, and behind the scenes there were furious rows between Harrisson and his cameraman collaborator, Hugh Gibb.
When Tom and Hugh had a squabble about, I don't remember what on earth it was about, but again, I was Tom's technical assistant, I was the office boy or whatever, and when they passed messages to each other, it was me who had to be the carrier, and it did deteriorate to that at one stage, but I'm afraid to say I have no idea what the squabble was about.